Every day, millions of Canadians use dangerous goods. Substances that explode, burst into flames, corrode, poison. Everything from TNT to turpentine, and from sulfuric acid to household disinfectants. Whether working at a mine's blast site or standing at the kitchen sink, Canadians depend a great deal upon the safe and unhampered movement of these goods throughout our country. By road, rail, air, and sea, transportation companies in Canada move over 150 million metric tons of dangerous goods every year.
Accidents are rare, but they happen in spite of all the regulations that cover the transportation of dangerous goods in Canada. One problem with the old regulations was simply that there were so many of them. Regulations dealing with specific dangerous goods. Regulations governing railways. Regulations for air and marine shipping. But little regulation of the trucking industry. There were gaps, inconsistencies, and duplication in this maze of rules. That's one reason why the federal and provincial governments, in consultation with industry, began in the 70s to clarify, update, and consolidate all the regulations to cover all situations. The results? A new Transportation of Dangerous Goods Act, passed into law in 1980 and regulations published in 1985.
For the first time, we have one set of regulations that apply from coast to coast, to all types of dangerous goods and to all means of transport. The new regulations are designed to save lives, reduce injuries, and at the same time, lessen damage to property and contamination of the environment.
There is a new focus. The old regulations told us what we had to do in order to move dangerous goods safely. There was no flexibility. The new regulations tell us what level of safety must be achieved, and that is a very different thing. Under the new regulations, the first priority is safety, but we are free to find more efficient and less costly ways of achieving that level of safety, and that's to everybody's benefit.
The Act stipulates that anyone who offers dangerous goods for shipment or who transports them must be trained for their particular job duties. Manufacturers of dangerous goods, warehouse operators, transportation companies, and others involved in the transportation of dangerous goods must ensure that employees understand the regulations. They must be able to quickly recognize dangerous goods, know how to handle them, and know what to do in the event of an emergency. The regulations themselves specify when the Act applies and when it doesn't. They tell consigners what goods are prohibited from transport and which goods may be exempted or partially exempted from the full requirements of the legislation.
Unless the goods are prohibited or exempted, they must be classified according to the regulations. There are 9 classes of dangerous goods. Class 1 is made up of explosives. Class 2 is gases. Flammable liquids are Class 3, while flammable solids, substances liable to combust spontaneously, and substances that emit flammable gases when wet, make up Class 4. Class 5 contains oxidizing substances and organic peroxides. Poisonous and infectious substances make up Class 6. Class 7 is radioactive materials. Class 8, corrosive substances. And Class 9 is made up of miscellaneous dangerous goods, including hazardous wastes. Some of these classes are broken down into divisions. For example, Class 2, which is gases, is broken into 4 divisions.
As well, each dangerous substance or item has a product identification number and a packing group number. To a trained person, these numbers precisely identify the product and the risk involved in handling or transporting the goods. In fact, the precise classification of dangerous goods is the first step in reducing the risk to people and property. Classification is the responsibility of the manufacturer or importer of dangerous goods, and it can be an exacting business. Many dangerous goods present more than one hazard. Manufacturers or importers must use the regulations to carefully account for all the risks in any consignment. Once an item or substance is fully classified, the regulations specify how the consignment must be packaged and, in some instances, in what amounts.
When the goods are properly packaged, the packages must carry labels and any other required safety marks which clearly identify the risk. Placards must be affixed to vehicles, railway cars, and freight and tank containers in which dangerous goods have been loaded. There are prescribed colors and symbols for each of the 9 classes and their divisions. Once again, it is the consignor who has the responsibility for correctly placing and displaying the correct safety marks. The safety marks we use in Canada are generally based on those developed by a special committee of the United Nations, so they can be easily recognized anywhere in the world.
All of the information on a consignment of dangerous goods must be contained in a shipping document, a safety passport. This document, completed by the consignor, is handed over to the initial carrier and accompanies the consignment throughout its journey. The shipping document spells out in detail what dangerous goods are being transported and in what amounts. It contains the prescribed shipping name or names chosen from more than 3,100 dangerous goods listed in the regulations. The product identification number and the packing group number are included. Along with the names and addresses of the consignor and consignee, there's also a telephone number to call in the event of an emergency. For certain shipments of dangerous goods, the consignor, consignee of imported goods, or in-transit road or rail carrier must develop an emergency response assistance plan. This plan indicates what must be done in the event of an accident. The summary of the plan is then given a reference number. This number is indicated on the shipping document.
When consignments of certain dangerous goods are transported, the consignor must notify the carrier and the consignee and receive confirmation that they are prepared to receive the consignment. As well, there are procedures that must be followed for notifying the police and other authorities, including the Canadian Transport Emergency Centre, Canutech in Ottawa, when all or part of some consignments have been lost, stolen, or misplaced.
The TDG Act carries stiff penalties. Failure to comply with certain prescribed safety standards could lead to heavy fines and prison sentences. It takes a great deal of experience, training, and above all, painstaking care to move dangerous goods safely. Whether by road, air, rail, or sea, Canada has an excellent record. The new Act and regulations will help industry maintain that record.